So I know that everyone doesn't necessarily care about nature, and I completely get it. I had that mindset when I was younger, right? Um, it wasn't necessarily that I didn't care, but I didn't care more than I should, you know? I didn't litter and stuff like that, but um, yeah. Anyways, I want to talk about sustainable development, right? Sustainable development is the idea that everybody now um, has like equal share of resources. It focuses on renewable resources versus resources that are not renewable. I can't remember the term. Um, and for now, but not just now, for in the future, so that the future generations will have the same access, right? And it's no, I want to say it's no fault of our own. I would like to say that. Um, but I am pretty sure that people have made some poor not economical economy decisions, right? For the pursuit of profit, like always, as everything is about. Um, so, like mercury, right? I don't know if you guys are tracking, but mercury toxicity is like a huge problem right now. It's like a lot of our waters are like contaminated, and you can't eat a lot of the fish, like tuna. You're only supposed to, the FDA recommends you only have like 2 cans of tuna a week. It doesn't say you should stop though, because fish is really good for child development. But like big fish, like sharks and stuff like that, you're not supposed to eat them at all, because the toxicity levels are so high. And at first you're like, okay, well, I just won't eat fish, right? But there's a bigger picture. Like birds eat fish. The water touches vegetation, right? So the vegetation absorbs mercury. The animals that eat on the vegetation, they get mercury. The animals that eat those animals that eat so like, and it has crazy effects. Like, it lowers the ability for animals to like reproduce. It affects their eggs, right? So it's like a big thing. Anyways, I kind of got sidetracked, right? We got to think about the environment, right? Because we may think the environment doesn't impact us, and it's like bare minimum you should think about the environment for yourself, right? Because it does impact you, and it will impact future generations. And it's super simple stuff, right? Our trash system sucks. America's trash system sucks. I lived in Japan for 2 years, and their trash system is great. You separate trash at the local level. So you put burnables into like a container. You put glass into a container. You put metals into a container. You put plastics into a container, and you put like hazardous materials and like combustibles, right? And they have their own day where you take that stuff out, and then they pick it up. And like bigger furniture and stuff, you just schedule a thing and they pick it up, and it's all good as long as you do what you're supposed to and you separate correctly, right? You just take a little bit more time if you want to wash your cans out, right? And it works really well, right? Right now we have trash and we have recycling, and you can't necessarily put everything that is recyclable into recycling, right? Or things that are mixed. And then that just goes to a dump, right? I don't even want to think about how much trash we have right now, just in holes in the earth. And it's not just that. Electronics, right? Electronics is not a renewable. The components and materials required to make electronics has not necessarily been all renewable. And we've just been dumping electronics into the earth, right? So eventually we are going to have to go and dig up all this shit and separate this shit, right? And I mean, like, the good thing about that is when we do have to do that, that's going to provide a lot of jobs. Like, we have years of fucking trash buildup. Years. Like, it's not going to get, I do not believe that it would be done in a year for, 10 years. We have a lot. But like, focus on the trash, separate trash, right? That will slowly promote, to the environment. And then things like, when we create products, right? There's this thing called life cycle analysis. Life cycle analysis is when you analyze from the gathering of the material to the processing to the production, like the production and manufacturing, to the use, all the way to the disposal, right? And you make sure it's okay. We're not harming or affecting anything in gathering. And in each cycle, there's no harm. There's no hazardous shit being cast into the environment, right? And that's a really good thing. We honestly should we should require that of businesses, right? Like, do you want a product that you buy at the store and then it's no longer usable? Because that's the thing too, right? We don't like to make products, rather companies don't like to make products that last. Because if they make a product that lasts, they're going to lose profit. So they make shit that breaks on purpose. And it's like you have to buy a whole new product. You like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, like, you know, like shit that used to last forever don't last. A spray bottle, little fucking trigger on that shit will just break after, you know, sometimes you don't even finish the whole container and it breaks. So the little spray cans, like, shit is made to break, so you have to buy more, right? If we changed our thinking about that, right? But this requires, you know, caring about, you know, the system of everything, right? Like caring about Earth as a system, because Earth is a system. It regulates its own like atmosphere, and it, you know, it makes changes where it's necessary to keep it like in. Technically, if you think about like what is the definition of something that is living, it's like something that can adapt to its environment, something that reproduces. And if you look at it in a certain perspective, Earth is technically a living organism. Obviously, it's a bunch of dirt, but I mean, like, scientifically, you could argue it. Maybe not 100%, right? I'm not an expert. I wish I was, but I'm not. There's too much shit in the world to be an expert in everything. But what I was saying, oh yeah, so what we should focus on is like modular building, right? So when you buy a product and a piece on that product goes out, you just order the piece that goes out. You don't have to get a whole new thing, right? And version 2.0 isn't gonna be a completely new thing with completely new components and new wires and shit. It's literally gonna use the same like build style as the previous one, just with updated components, you know? So people who bought it in the beginning, they can update their shit. And people who didn't buy it at the beginning, they can buy it at like, you know, its peak, you know, whatever its best version of itself is at that time. Like solar power. Like if we just fucking put solar panels on everybody's roofs, you know, like there's a lot of stuff that we could do that if we stopped prioritizing greed and money so much, right? How many people in the world have so much money, but they still need to make money, right? And I think that's a money thing. When you have money, like money is your priority. You got to spend money to make money, and you have to keep up an image. It's a whole fucking like thing, right? You got to have 5 cars because you got to show all the other rich guys that you're on their level of rich, right? And I feel like a lot of us poor scrubs will be, you know, content, you know, with a certain amount of money. We wouldn't have 5 houses. We wouldn't have, you know, fucking a whole garage of 20 cars, right? I personally don't need all that, right? I'm content with virtual reality. I can go anywhere I want, have as much space, you know, just give me a big ass room with a VR headset, immersed. Yeah, I'm getting off topic. But we need to care more about the environment, right? And caring about the environment isn't like some hippie nerd shit, right? It impacts you, right? Like plastics, we should just fucking get rid of plastics. Plastics don't like really do good for like anyone. Although apparently there's a kid who created something that can burn plastic for fuel, so that's pretty cool. But the other thing too is like our knowledge, right? What we think is good now may wind up being really fucking horrible for us later, right? So we hope that when people create things and people release things, that they're not doing it knowing that they're fucking up the environment and knowing that it's going to be bad in the long run, and just because they want, you know, to cut corners and make profit, right? That's the type of shit that our politicians should be thinking about too, you know, and our leadership in general. Our leadership should care about serving the people, right? Not serving the corporations. People make the corporations. You serve the people. All right, I'm done. Have a good day.